All right, guys, it's the moment we've all been waiting for. The Denver Broncos' full 2025 schedule has been leaked. Spoiler alert, Broncos country, you are going to see the schedule in just a second. If you guys do not want to see the schedule spoiled, do not watch the rest of this video. Wait until 6 o'clock when the schedule is officially announced and then come back to this video. But without further ado, if you guys do not want to see it, get out now. I am bringing in the schedule right now. So, we already knew that the Denver Broncos were going to host the Tennessee Titans in Week 1. Most likely it'll be Cam Ward making his NFL debut, unless the Titans don't want to expose Cam Ward to that dreaded Broncos defense in Week 1. Maybe it'll be Will Levis playing quarterback for the Titans instead. We'll see what happens there. We're just going to briefly go through these games, and then once the schedule is officially announced, we will go through them a little bit more in depth. So, Week 2, we've got the Broncos at the Indianapolis Colts. That's going to be a revenge game for the Colts where Jonathan Taylor dropped the football at that game here in Denver. That was a game that put the Broncos in position to make the playoffs with just one more win, and it basically, for all intents and purposes, eliminated Indianapolis from the playoffs. So this is going to be kind of a revenge game for the Indianapolis Colts. Initially, the Broncos wanted to go to Germany to play the Colts, but Indianapolis blocked it. Instead, the Broncos will travel to Indy in Week 2. Week 3 at the Los Angeles Chargers, so that's going to be a really tough matchup, obviously. The first of our division matchups of the season. At LA, I think that this one might be a tough challenge going on the road to play the Chargers, who have definitely gotten better as a team. The Cincinnati Bengals, Week 4 at Denver, Monday Night Football. That one is going to be so much fun. Obviously, the Broncos-Bengals game last year was one of the games of the year. Bo Nix had that epic touchdown pass at the end of regulation to force overtime to Marvin Mims. He also had that epic deep touchdown pass to Marvin Mims as well. So, yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to that matchup. This time it'll be at Empower Field at Mile High under the lights. Week 5, probably the toughest game of the entire season for the Denver Broncos, going to Philadelphia to take on the defending Super Bowl champs, the Philadelphia Eagles. Not going to be easy. And then one initial report that I had that ultimately did not end up being correct, the Broncos are not playing the Eagles and Commanders back-to-back. Instead, they're going to Philadelphia, and then they're going to London to play the Jets in Week 6. So they're going to the East Coast to get acclimated before they go to London in Week 6. Then they do not have a bye week coming out of that London game. That is by choice. Teams that play overseas can choose if they want to have a bye week or not the following week. Sean Payton didn't want the Broncos to have a bye week. Clearly, he wanted them to have a later bye week like they did last year, so that way they can get healthy at the right time, heading into the home stretch of the season with some pretty tough games on the slate. Giants at Broncos. If Russell Wilson is still starting for New York by then, it will be the Russell Wilson revenge game, so really excited for that one. Cowboys at Broncos. Last time we saw the Dallas Cowboys in Denver was 2016, and the Broncos embarrassed them. And the last time the Broncos played the Cowboys in general at Jerry World in 2021, they also embarrassed them. The Broncos have kind of historically owned the Cowboys in these recent years, so definitely excited for that game. Always love it when the Dallas Cowboys come to town, my least favorite team in the NFL. We've got the Broncos at the Texans, Week 9. That's going to be a really tough challenge. The Texans are looking to kind of bounce back from last year where they didn't take those steps forward that they were hoping to take. They dealt with some injuries. Their offensive line wasn't very good. CJ Stroud, he still was awesome, but the rest of the team around him wasn't as good as it was the year before. We'll see if Houston can get back to the form that they were. Even though they still made the divisional round of the playoffs last year, they're hoping to take that next step forward and become true legitimate Super Bowl contenders. Raiders at Broncos, Thursday Night Football, Week 10, so that's going to be the first matchup of the new revamped Raiders. Geno Smith, Pete Carroll, Ashton Genty. I'm telling you guys, this is not going to be an easy out playing the Raiders 2 times like it was last year. It's not going to be 2 easy wins. Chiefs at Broncos, week 11. That is not going to be a primetime game. We get the primetime game with the Chiefs, week 17 on Christmas night. Week 12 is the bye week, so a much-needed day of rest right there, or week of rest for the Denver Broncos. Obviously, getting healthy at the right time is going to be absolutely huge for them. At the Commanders, Sunday Night Football coming out of the bye. You knew that this was going to be a primetime game. Bo Nix versus Jaden Daniels, and that is going to be a really tough matchup as well for the Broncos against a really good Commanders team. Week 14, Broncos at Raiders. Spoiler alert, I have the Broncos splitting with the Raiders. We'll take a look at my way too early win-loss projections in just 1 second, but I do have the Broncos splitting with the Raiders. Packers at Broncos, week 15. Jordan Love and company coming to town. Week 16, Jaguars at Broncos. The Jaguars obviously are new and improved with Travis Hunter coming to town. New head coach Liam Cohen. So it's going to be Travis Hunter returning to the state of Colorado. Very exciting stuff there. Week 17, we already knew about this game. Broncos at Chiefs on Christmas night. If you want to hear my full in-depth thoughts on that, I made a previous video discussing it. And then week 18, we close out at home with the Chargers. So let's go ahead and take a look at my way too early win-loss projections for the Denver Broncos. Week 1 against the Titans, I think that's going to be a dub for the Broncos. The Titans were the worst team in football. They're going to be starting a rookie quarterback, most likely. If not, they're going to be starting Will Levis. I think this is a win for the Broncos. At Indianapolis, obviously Indy is going to be wanting to get that revenge for what happened in that game here in Denver last year, but I think Denver's still the better team, so I've got Denver getting a dub on the road there. At the Chargers, spoiler alert, I've just got the Broncos splitting with division opponents all across the board, and just for the simplicity of it, I have them winning all their division games at home and losing all their division games on the road. So L on the road at the Chargers, but it could go the other way around. Bengals at Broncos, Monday Night Football. Obviously, that Bengals offense is nothing to sneeze at, but defensively, they've got a lot of problems. I got a feeling this could be a shootout, like 40 points scored by each team. But I do think the Denver Broncos, just because they have the advantage on defense, are going to get the win and avenge their loss in Cincinnati from last year. At Philadelphia, let's just be honest here. The Broncos are going to have a miracle happen to win that game. The Eagles are the best team in football. They're loaded in the trenches on both sides of the ball. They've got an awesome quarterback in Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown. Oh, yeah, and they've got Saquon Barkley, too. So this is going to be a really tough matchup. And if the Broncos can go into Philadelphia and at least be competitive with the defending Super Bowl champions, then I will call that a win. But right now, I definitely have the Broncos losing that game. At the Jets in London, that should be a win. There's familiarity between these two teams, more on the executive side with George Payton and Darren Muji, but also Sean Payton and Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn was on Sean Payton's staff there in New Orleans. Justin Fields, he's got some experience playing against the Broncos, so I do think the Denver Broncos going to London will come away with the win, but this isn't going to be as easy of a game as some people think. The Giants at the Broncos, if Russell Wilson's playing, then I have the Broncos with an easy win here. If it's Jameis Winston or Jackson Dart, then I think it might be a more competitive game. But tentatively, I have the Broncos taking care of business against Russell Wilson. Week 8 against the Cowboys. I don't think the Cowboys are going to be very good this year. I don't think that Brian Schottenheimer was the right hire at head coach. I think that they're going to regress once again, and I think Dallas is going to be one of the worst teams in football next year. So I have the Broncos taking care of business and once again continuing their ownership of the Dallas Cowboys. But the same cannot be said against the other team from the state of Texas. I think the Broncos will lose at Houston. I think Houston is going to be really, really good this year. They are a loaded team, and I think they're going to be a lot better than last year. So yeah, I have the Denver Broncos losing on the road to Houston. Raiders at Broncos Thursday Night Football. Since the game's in Denver, I'm giving the win to Denver. But like I said, this Raiders team is not going to be an easy out like they were last year. Geno Smith is a legit top 10 quarterback in the NFL. And I know people will say, what are you talking about? Turn on the film, man. Geno Smith is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. And Ashton Genty, that's going to make the run game dynamic. Their defense is hopefully going to be healthy for them this year with Max Crosby. He was hurt all last year, wasn't playing like his normal self. Christian Wilkins missed most of the year with a foot injury. So I think that this is going to be a tough matchup and a really competitive matchup for the Broncos. But at home, I think Denver will defend their home turf just like they will against the Kansas City Chiefs. Listen, the Broncos have closed the gap in terms of talent with the Chiefs. They're right there, neck and neck. I think the Broncos could very easily sweep the Chiefs this year, but I can't go quite that far just yet based on history. But I think the Broncos will be able to get their third straight win against the Chiefs at home. Broncos at Commanders, Sunday Night Football, traveling to Landover, going against Jaden Daniels and that Commanders offense led by Cliff Kingsbury, and then that defense should be better than they were last year. I think this is going to be a loss for the Broncos, but again, if they can go into Washington and stay competitive, then they might actually be able to steal a win from the Commanders. I don't think that the talent discrepancy is that much between the Broncos and the Commanders, but I am going to give the edge to the Commanders at this point in time, partially because it is at Washington. Then at the Raiders, I'm going to give the Broncos the L tentatively. I think we're going to split with all three of our division rivals, and I think that we're going to ultimately end up splitting with the Raiders as well. Packers at Broncos. The Packers drafted Matthew Golden in the first round this year. Jordan Love, he kind of had some shaky play last year, too many turnovers, dealt with some injuries, all started off week 1 down in Brazil when he shook up his knee. If the Packers are at their full potential, then this could be a really tough matchup for the Broncos, but I do think that the Packers are kind of still trying to do some soul searching as a football team, so I have the Denver Broncos winning this game at home. I also have them winning at home against Jacksonville. That's going to be really fun because obviously Travis Hunter returning to Denver or returning to the area, but I do think that ultimately the Broncos are a better team than the Jacksonville Jaguars and they will get the win. At the Chiefs, since it's on the road, I have the Kansas City Chiefs defending their home turf. But again, man, the Broncos have closed the gap enough where this could be a win for the Broncos on the road at KC, officially avenging that blocked field goal. And then I have them defending home turf against the Chargers. The Chargers swept the Broncos last year for the first time since 2010. And listen, if that's what it takes for the Broncos to make the playoffs is getting swept by the Chargers, then so be it. But I don't think that's going to happen again. I don't think that Sean Payton is going to lose 2 straight games to the Chargers once again. I think that he's going to be a lot better prepared. We're not going to see any special teams gaffes like we saw at the end of the first half of that second Chargers game where they had the free kick. I don't think we're going to see any of that nonsense again. So I think the Broncos will be able to win at home against the Chargers in what could be a critical game in terms of playoff seeding. So as of right now, I have the Denver Broncos going 11-6, and I think that they are going to be in pole position to make the playoffs for the second year in a row. All right, Broncos country, let me know in the comment section below. How do you feel about this schedule, and what is your tentative win-loss prediction record for the Denver Broncos? Drop those comments down below, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts as always. Be sure to leave a like on this video as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. I would really appreciate it, guys. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. Helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. And until next time, guys, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.